Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by Closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead of them and their companies. I'm your host, Olivia Salmons, and in each episode, we'll uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future growth. Today, I'm very excited to be joined by Angela Heath, entrepreneur, keynote speaker, author, and founder of TKC Incorporated, a company dedicated to helping experts turn their knowledge into thriving businesses. Angela works with consultants, coaches, and professionals who want to amplify their authority, transform their expertise into booking and speaking opportunities, and build sustainable revenue streams in today's knowledge economy. Angela, welcome to Founders Future. Thank you so much for joining me here today.
Oh, thank you for asking. I'm happy to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you, and I'm very much excited to dive in and learn a little bit more about your journey. So, Angela, with all of my guests, I do like to start at the beginning. So if you don't mind briefly taking me back to what it was you was doing before you started TKC Incorporated, and then from there, what was the motivation behind it?
So I have to take you back. This is my second company.
Okay.
I'll take you back to before I jumped into business. I actually always knew I wanted to be a consultant, but I didn't know exactly how to do that. So I joined a Beltway bandit. That's what we call in the DC area, the companies that have huge government contracts. I joined one of those firms, and within 6 months, you're not going to believe this, I got fired. I got fired, and that started my journey in entrepreneurism.
I can imagine. So, I feel like a lot of people might resonate with that story, fair enough. And then from there, I suppose it was just jumping into to consulting and doing what you wanted to do best.
Yeah, I didn't really know what I was doing when I started. I just started telling people I'm a consultant. Luckily, the last job I had prior to that, it put me in the national spotlight because I was
Right.
covering the issue. They got a lot of media attention. So people knew who I was, and I had already been speaking all around the country. So I just went back to the people I knew and said, I'm consulting now, and really didn't know what I was doing.
And then from there, how did you kind of obviously spring that on and then move forward? Because that was still the first business, right? Or are we now talking about the
That was
second?
the
Yeah.
first business.
Awesome. Awesome stuff. And then from there, we just kind of led on and then leads to serial entrepreneurship and onwards from there.
Well, there's another story in between there. I'll give you the Cliff Note version. The first company was around over 20 years. And then my kid came running through the back door one day into my bedroom door, and it announced, Mom, I'm having a hot flash. Interesting thing about that, that kid was 12 years old, and
Mm.
that kid was a boy. And Mom had never had a hot flash. 1 week later, that child was diagnosed with leukemia. I became a hospital mom for 3.5 years. I closed the company down, lived in hospital. And it wasn't until he was well, I began to try to figure out what do I want to be once again when I grow up, because I really didn't want to travel the country so much. And
Naturally.
that's how I started the second company.
I love that. And thank you so much for sharing that. So yeah, naturally, as life happens, you have to kind of pivot yourself and make the best of it in those situations. And thankfully, things turned out well on that short-term plan, and you can kind of branch off from there. So let's dive into TKC Incorporated a little bit more then, just so the listeners can have some context moving forward. So, Angela, at this point in, who would you say like is your ideal client? Like, who do you very, very much love to work with the most? And then from there, how would you help them, and how would you support them?
I love working with people who have proven expertise. A lot of people say they do, but if you really can't prove it, then I have to question it. So if it's a knowledgepreneur who has truly done what they said they can do, and we can prove it, then they tend to be consultants, trainers, coaches
Mm.
who sell their knowledge. If we can find that right ideal customer, we can help them grow their businesses by growing their thought leadership. And we do it very strategically data-driven insights using AI, and also their knowledge base, what their customer want, and the gap in the industry. That's what we call convergence, and that's what puts people on the map.
100%. And in the modern world, that is so important to be put on that map. As you say, you was very lucky from the start that you had that kind of pipeline or network that you could use. So it's essentially just replicating that in the modern world and applying your expertise to it. How do you go about ensuring that they've obviously proven their expertise? Is there a certain qualification that someone needs to, I suppose, have or a level they need to be at for you to start working with them?
Well, we do, of course, do an intake where we ask certain questions, but we research them.
Nice.
If someone is telling me they're an expert in a particular area, but I can't find anything about them prior to 2026, then I have to question that. But usually, expertise will leave clues. You'll show up somewhere. You're speaking on stages.
Yeah.
You have articles that are written by you about you that people are resonating with. So it always leaves clues.
Yeah, I can imagine that. And as you say, in those areas where they are coaching, consulting, they're very much those kind of purposeful driven roles or even driven mindsets. So naturally, they will be on that path, as you say, expressing themselves already on that way through. And what is it like to work with you then and within the company? Do you very much get in the trenches with your clients and over a extended amount of time? Or like, what is the process you do to help them very much evaluate themselves and take them to the next level?
So we've got a whole journey here, and we can give them the training program, video training, materials, the AI tools, and they
Nice.
can do it themselves. We can do it with them, or we can do it for them. But basically, everything we do starts with this one module that I call Business First. And that's where we're looking for convergence. That's where we're going to build out their frameworks with the topic that they want to continue their expertise on. We call it a through line. When we help them create a book, we pull out from the book what is going to be the business from the book, the expansion, the brand expansion, or, if they're new and they're expert, where do they want to plant their flag? And so we pull that out through the research first, and then we start to build those business building assets, which could be a book, it could be a signature speech, or it could be a high converting offer.
Amazing. So very much on that, as you say, on the PR side of things, leading into that expertise, but you do the due diligence check on the front end, and I suppose a little bit of like inner work and searching to kind of pull that out of them, and then from there, very much, as you say, using the tools you have in place to really evaluate the situation and whatever path is best for them based on the ICP, which I very much enjoy that process. It's a very nice, smooth one coming into that. One thing I'm very curious to find out though is obviously like how you go about acquiring your own customers. So like in terms of channels or methods, like what are you doing at the moment in just finding those right people to work with?
Well, right now I'm getting ready to launch a new campaign, and I'm really hopeful with this. I've done a lot of word of mouth, and I do get referrals, and I've done some LinkedIn processes, some of which didn't work as well as I would have liked. But right now, I'm playing on my strengths. So my strength is speaking. My strength is motivation. So we're doing a whole campaign, which you'll launch like next month, actually, where we will have Facebook ads running, YouTube ads running, Google ads running, and they're all leading to what we call a CYOA, which is a video series where you pick your own adventure. So, depending on what you answer in the video series, it takes you through the whole process to book a call with me. So, hopefully, that is going to work out well. I do believe it will.
Beautiful. Yeah. So you're starting up the ad campaign to then, so the CY is more of that's like the course channel. And then from there, they can pick which one adds better and then straight to that book a call system. So it's a nice
Yes.
funnel you set up. Have you ever run ads before or will this be like a new venture for you within the
I
business?
have run ads before. They have not been as successful as I would have liked, but we have run ads before.
Amazing stuff. And then so assuming you have a team then kind of helping you out with all this stuff behind the scenes, covering some of those hats you have to do as a founder.
Yeah, I have a small team, a small
Beautiful.
team, but we're hiring a marketing company for this campaign.
Amazing stuff. So you've already found someone that's very nice that you're going to work with and they obviously trust you to set that up within the company as well. It's a big
Yeah,
thing.
we found an expert. That's who I like to
Exactly.
work with. So we found
Exactly
an
that.
expert who's got a 20-year track record. And when you talk about people with track records, because I've got a track record, you also want people who have some recent activity because
Right.
we can't do what we used to do 20 years ago. But this gentleman has a track record from 20 years all the way up to today. He's very well respected.
Amazing stuff. So very similar to your path through as well. So he's seen the changes, as you say, that have happened throughout business in the past 20 years, and even the acceleration that's happened since onboarding with AI, So all of those nuances really play dividends when you are looking to work with somebody you trust, as you say, bringing in that specialist, but make sure they align with you and your mission as well is such a key part of that when you're looking to grow.
Exactly.
And so with all that being said, you obviously have the new campaign coming out. So like what are your ambitions or your visions for the company moving forward? So like maybe when you think of the next 6 to 12 months, like what are the targets or like the milestones that you're hopefully looking forward to achieving?
My main target for this year is really to step back from a lot of the day to day. We have some automation already set up, but not nearly enough. So,
Mm,
my goal is to really build out the automation so that I can do the things that I love to do, and that is to train and to speak. And I am looking forward to that 4-hour workday. That's my goal for this year. And we've got a pretty good plan in place. So I may not get to 4 hours, but if I get to six, I'm happy.
I can imagine. And 6 hours spent in your zone of genius is a beautiful way to spend 6 hours as well. As you say, that is kind of the goal for most founders when they get to that level that that business just kind of runs itself and you can be the face or whatever you choose to be doing within the business itself. It's a really cool.
Yeah, I mean that is definitely the goal, and the automation helps a lot if it's kind of thought through and it's very
100.
strategic and planned, and then having the right people in the right places to support.
Yeah.
I probably have another person to hire. I work with primarily subcontractors. I am my only employee, but I may hire one more. I think I need one more person to support.
Nice. So that team keeps growing and as you do as well, which is really cool. And I suppose where are you probably finding the biggest challenge for yourself at the moment, like within the business or even taking those next steps?
My biggest challenge is technology. I mean, I have a technology person to support me, but I like to understand. I don't need to understand every little bit, but I do like to have a good overview of how things work, why they work, should they work, or why they're not working. Because if you only depend on one person to take the lead in an area and you're a very small company, then when that person leaves, even if you have SOPs,
Yeah.
when that person leaves, there's a big void. And so for me, I like to understand some of the activities, the execution, so that even in hiring the next person, I'm real clear about what I need and how it works without actually getting down to the nitty gritty. But I can ask better questions when I understand how the process is supposed to work.
I could not agree more. And I feel like it is so vital for every founder to know, like, as you say, not like 100% the role, but at least the ins and outs of what is going on. Just so that, as you say, if things happen, things move on, or even if, the world's imploding, you can still run that business and see what every aspect of it looks like in a safe way as well. It's so important. It just adds to that whole organization structure as you are growing through as a founder. And I do have one final question to ask you, Angela, before we log out. So if you could go back in time to a younger self, and you could only leave yourself with one piece of advice moving forward, something you know now, but that you didn't know back then, what would you say to yourself?
Hire someone who knows more than you immediately. I had to do everything the hard way because I really, like I said, I started consulting. I just didn't know. I had an expertise
Yeah.
that was proven, but I didn't know how to build a business. I knew how to be in my zone of genius. If I had hired a business builder as a consultant, as a coach early on, I probably would have quadrupled my revenue by now.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of founders have made those only mistakes as well. It is a sense of like investing in yourself to move forward in your future. It is, as you say, you are the specialist. You want people to hire you for that same reason. It's like that role reversal switch. And Angela, thank you so much for joining me here today and for sharing your incredible journey and insight with us. Where can our listeners reach out best to work with you or connect with you if they would like to do so?
I would love for people to connect with me on LinkedIn. I am the real Angela Heath over there, but also they can check me out at the website, www.TKC Incorporated, spelled all the way out.com.
Beautiful stuff. And thank you again, Angela. I really enjoyed our conversation today. And to our listeners, if you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to go and check out Angela Heath, as you just said, the real Angela Heath on LinkedIn. And please check out the website, tkcincorporated.com. Drop her a message. I'm sure she would love to hear from everybody. And do not forget to subscribe to Founders Future via wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And if you are a business owner, specifically a coach, consultant, or agency owner, and you're really looking to scale your business and you want to enhance your sales and marketing efforts, visit closers.io to hop on a call with one of our team and discover how we went from $0 to $30 million per year in less than 3 years. But until then, keep on climbing and we'll see you on the next one.